So here we go. The kitchen is roughed in. I say roughed in, it needs to be slightly manoeuvred a little bit more because we're going to actually put some panels in here, and I've actually cut this strip off at the back of this off a little bit so we can actually put the paneling behind. By doing so, the paneling will be nice and tight against the wall, and then we'll attach it on the other side of the cabinet. And if I look inside the cabinet, you can see here how it's framed out, and the microwave drawer slides out. It needs varnishing on top of that, but you can see there's going to be a countertop, of course, going on here. The sink is going to go, so let me stand back here. The sink is going to go in this area here. That's why we have the piping there. So I'm going to run the hot and cold water pipes behind the back there and attach them so they don't shake around and wobble around. It also allows me easier access in the future rather than trying to kind of go behind and underneath this whole unit where the air duct used to be. I've left that in. I'm going to panel that off at the front there, so you can see it coming along quite nicely.
Hi, it's been a while. It's Ian's turn to be travelling this time, but unfortunately I don't have a cardboard cutout of him to join us. Not weird. Anyway, we're here in my craft room. It's a bit of a rainy, chilly day today, so it's a good day to come in and do an inside project. Now, I've just seen in the GMC model motorhome, we have these huge, beautiful, big windows, which are great. They let in a lot of light, and of course, when it's warm, it lets in a lot of heat. But the downside to that is coming to cover all those windows. So that's my project today. This is what we got last year, staying with the greys. This is a vinyl fabric that is going to be going on the wall panels and the ceiling panels, which are all templated and cut out, so they'll be glued on and they'll fit nicely into each space. The white is the same, you can't see from that distance, but it's the same texture. And this will be for the bathroom, because we're going to keep the bathroom nice and bright and white. And in there too, we have this huge big window right at the back. So that's a lot of fabric for these windows. And this is what we chose for basically all the windows. We stayed with the grey colour just to keep everything kind of subtle and the same. There's the greys and the blues. And of course we need the blackout for the windows for privacy and to keep out the sun when we're sleeping. So these are all the fabrics that we're going to be using for the main parts, and then of course within that there's going to be seat cushions and scatter cushions and curtains for the divide between the bathroom and the main area. I'm sure there's going to be lots of other bits and pieces too that are going to need more fabrics. But for the most part, this is a large bulk of what we need fabric wise. And so that's my job today. I'm going to get started on some of the windows, and we're going to go with a very simple shade, a flat roll down. I'll explain that as we go, and you can get the idea. It's better to actually see it than to describe it. But before I start cutting, I'm going to do one last measure and make sure I do it right.
kitchen area, right along this wall here, right around, and this white area here is going to have a stainless steel metal tile. We've already got them. The surfaces need to be cleaned and prepped, but they are self-adhesive. They kind of interlock with one another, which is great. And when it's all done, they'll all be piped, they'll all be edged. It'll look really crisp and clean. So looking forward to getting that in. Here's one of the cut pieces. This fits in the bathroom, and what you can see, we've actually got some foam too, which when it goes against the wall will stop it rattling. Here is the other piece against the wall. The piece I've just shown is going to go right against that, and this will be part of a closet. So I've been installing the water system. So I'm going to show you the cold water, and then we'll show you the hot water. So from here, the water will come in. There's a pipe that needs to go in there. I've not put that in yet because it's too big. I've got to get a replacement. Once it goes to the tank, it comes from the tank through this clear hose into a water filter, through the water pump. This is a T-valve for the exterior town water, should there ever be an opportunity. It will go through here, it'll go through the top hole here. It comes out around the back. There's going to be a sink here, water heater here, so there's going to be 2 T-bolts in there. It'll be all anchored, so this will look much better later. Shower through the back, tied against the wall, into the kitchen for the sink faucet. Hot water is going to start here. Cold water comes in, hot water comes out. One pipe will go to this exterior tap, or what will be an exterior tap. The other pipe goes to the hot water here for, my hands are dirty, I apologize, been working. This goes to the bathroom sink, which will be actually located here. Around here, this will be the hot water for the shower. That's nowhere near yet finished, as you can see. And then it continues through, again, into the back of the kitchen, for hot water into the kitchen. So you can see that we've actually installed a white ceiling in here with a threshold into the dark grey, or the darker grey. This is going to have a header along the top here. There's another panel that goes on here, a header, and then there's going to be a curtain rail, or rather not a curtain rail, but rather a door that goes in here. But as you can see, it's coming along well. In the middle here, we are going to have a drop ceiling. This is for LED uplights. That's already been wired and tested with the system. I just need to build it and install it on the ceiling, which will also give further protection for the ceiling, keep it very much into place. So progress is coming along nicely. You might recall me talking about the rear camera. This is not installed yet. It's still loose. However, we now have rear camera, side camera, and front cameras. So it makes driving certainly much safer. I'm going to position it once I decide where I want to put it. We've got a console that I'm building, or we are building, that's going to go here. But now we've got the camera in, I'll show you the side camera. And this is the side camera. There's one of the wheels that's done, but it's coming along. You might recall in an earlier video, we had wires that came across here into this light switch, up the wall here, and for the outdoor exterior light. But because this is going to have screws put into it and a kind of wooden frame going onto it, didn't want to run the risk of nicking wires, especially the high voltage wires for the 120 volt system. So what we did, or what I did, I actually routed it through the wall and across and down instead. So I redid the wiring for that again, but much happier with the solution there. It's much safer too. And you can see here also labeled
switches, especially which is on and off, because sometimes you just never know, and if you get a flat battery then you're always saying, okay, is it on, is it off, is it working, is it not? And it can be very frustrating. That avoids that frustration. So here we have the makings of the drawer cabinet. This goes above the water unit. This is bolted in to the frame at the back and also into the floor and onto each other. You can see some of the angle brackets at the back there. We're going to have a top on here, of course, countertop, and we're going to have a hatch at the back here, and that'll be used for storage at the back there. We're going to line it all out, so it'll look quite nice. And this frontage here is all going to be framed out to match the kitchen style. If I show you the kitchen style, you'll see it's got kind of this recessed edge at the front. So we're going to match that so the drawers look in the same style. But it's looking good. It's looking clean. A provisional look at the banquette. It's not all in yet. You can see this piece is not in properly. It's going to be painted before it goes in. The end pieces and the frame is still to be put on here. This, of course, needs still to be stained. We're going to have this as a sliding storage at the back. And as you can see in there, that's already a nice storage area. So I've got to build a slide device for that and a locking device. And at the front, it's drawers. So that's what it looks like. We've got to cut out the holes so you can see where the fabric is a little bit rippling here. That's just because there's nothing behind that. And of course, we're going to cut out here. We've got a framing to do there. But it's looking rather tidy and very, very pleasing. Of course, we're going to paint this back, I think, the same colour as we're going to paint this colour here. So it's kind of a very, 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 very light grey instead of the white. But it will look nice, and the front drawers will be done the same way, and the front face will be done the same way. And the countertop is cut. It's not in. The sink is not in. It's actually just positioned. And the frame is going to be coloured the same as the paint on here. But again, we're going to take it. We're not going to pin it in yet until we paint it, so we don't get the lines mixed up or messed up. So a little explanation how the sliding counter is going to work in the SPACEBUS. So we decided, as you recall, we're going to have the slide out piece for the counter above the drawer unit. And that way we can actually conceal a little bit of a storage space at the back without having to cut a hole in the countertop. And by doing so, it's just going to look tidier and neater. And quite frankly, it's also avoiding trying to make a really clean, nice cut for the cutout on top of the countertop, which is always a bit of a challenge to do it so it's really, really crisp. So what we're going to do is we are going to have bolted onto the side of each of the cabinets and the walls of the carcass of the cabinet, 2 pieces like this. Then under the countertop, there's going to be a piece like this that kind of, you can see the chamfered away there, so they go kind of like this. And this will be able to slide up and down, but it will not be able to pull out because it's going to be basically sat within. This will be attached to the counter. This will be attached to the wall. And by doing that, I've cut them 2 different lengths. So it opens just enough to reveal the space in the back, the storage space in the back, but it doesn't come all the way forward, so it doesn't also fall off. But you will not be able to take it off. You'll only be able to take it off if you remove this from underneath the countertop. So we'll have one of those on each side, and this will be the natural slide rail. We'll put on a natural product here to keep this nice and gliding. So it's got a nice finish, and that should work really, really well. We'll see.
you.